All right, this is video number 3, and what I want to do is I want to talk about how to use the emotions wheel. First, I want to start with the idea that we are going somewhere with finding our emotions, okay? We are looking to be able to identify and clarify our emotions, what they are, and naming them. That's why we have the 6 core emotions. On our Zoom call this morning, Michael asked about those 6 core, if those are the only emotions. And no, those aren't the only emotions there are, but those are the ones we want to use to help us identify, because we're learning, we're practicing, we're beginners at understanding and looking at our emotions. So the emotions will help expand that. But what we're going towards is this idea that we want to be able to take every thought captive. And the single best way that I know of to find out what you're thinking, and you have to find out what you're thinking before you take every thought captive, okay? And so the best way to do that is to find out what you're feeling, what your emotion is, because an emotion is constructed by a thought, all right? And so we find the emotion in the moment. We're like, I'm feeling angry. Then we take a moment later on and we go, what was I thinking? What's my thought that constructed, that created that emotion? Because emotions aren't just there with nothing that controls them. They're actually constructed by our brain. And in our group this morning, we talked a little bit about what that black box of your brain looks like and how it creates input and how it actually is a predictive, it predicts things that are going to happen. But I want to clarify that we're going somewhere, and next week, Monday, probably we'll start with how to literally take every thought captive, the process of finding that thought, and it'll be super interesting. But we're going somewhere, but you have to have these pieces in place, okay? That's why 30 days, that's why the month of July for practicing healthy emotions is important, that you don't do it haphazardly. You don't like cram it all in one day and watch everything. And if you have to do that, do that. But we're actually, it's progress. It's line upon line, okay? It's sequence where we're going somewhere so that we understand what an emotion is. We understand how our brain constructs emotions. We understand what emotions are not. We understand things like that. So we're moving towards something so that we will be able to utilize this self-coaching model that helps us coach ourselves to what am I thinking, and what thoughts do I need to take captive, and then what thoughts do I want to replace my current thoughts that I'm thinking. Because anything, I'm sorry, I'm going to re-say, any scripture that says that we are to do something, embedded in that scripture is the promise that we have the ability to do that. So when scripture says take every thought captive, be assured, be confident, I can take my thoughts captive. Anything outside of that, I can't take my thought captives, is a lie. Now, what might be true is I've failed over and over at taking my thoughts captive, or I haven't worked very hard at taking my thought captives, or I've learned some, I had a plan, but I haven't worked the plan. But trust me, God says, take every thought captive. You are well able to take every thought captive. So this is an emotions wheel. It's a feelings, emotions wheel. Now, remember, we have emotions and we feel those emotions. A lot of people have emotions and they're not actually feeling them. They're just rising up and then they're going away. They're never sitting with them. So even when we say, I'm angry, we don't actually have a very good handle on what that actual feeling feels like, okay? So on this emotions chart, you will notice that the core is the sachet, the SASHET, the sad, angry, scared, happy, energized, tender, okay? What we're doing, we're going to go to the outside, okay? The outside that has 6 different words, then it comes down into 6 other words, and then it comes down to the 6 main emotions, all right? So here's an example. When I was first started using this, back when I used Redbox, which is seems like a long, long time ago, it still amazes me that Redbox even exists, and I see people on the weekends at Redbox. But how I would use it, or how I want you to use it, is the same way how I use it. Is when you are aware of what you're feeling, you say, oh man, I'm like, you just have like maybe it's a jumble of words, maybe you're cycling your thoughts over and over again, maybe you're just feeling a certain way. I want you to sit down, and I have this in my notes on my phone. I pull it out, and I have an idea whether it's the sad, angry, scared, or the tender, energized, happy, because they're quite different experience, right? We all want the tender, energized, happy. We don't want the sad, angry, or scared, which, like we talked before, they're not good or bad, negative or positive. They are just what they are. But you say I'm sitting there, and I know, man, I'm feeling angry. I know that. I'm not sure it's anger yet, but there's something there. There's an irritation because I just tried the Redbox and it didn't work. And I think it was the second Redbox I went to. So I got in my car, instead of storming off to find another Redbox, as I sat there and I pulled this out outside of the Valero down there on Grant Road. I pulled this out and I started looking. Apathetic and fear. I'm over on the blue side, the sad side. Inadequate, no. Jealous, no. Selfish, no. Frustrated, yes. Furious, no. Irritated, yes. Skeptical, no. Bewildered, no. Discouraged, no. All right. So I go back over to the frustrated and the irritated. Then I go down to the angry, and then the hateful. And I just noticed that angry is there as angry, but it could be rage, hateful, critical, hostile, hurt. Those all point to that I was angry. So I'm like, okay, I am angry. And it's at a Redbox, so I could say I was a little bit angry, or I was frustrated, or I was irritated, but I was angry. So we just own what we are, not what we are, but what our emotion is. I sat there and felt anger. And anger actually feels pretty good. There's a lot of self-righteousness that I have when it comes to being angry. Like, I have a right to be angry. So I sat there and I thought for a moment. After I felt my anger, I sat with my anger, observed my anger. I didn't judge myself for being angry. I didn't quote a scripture about not being angry. I didn't proclaim the goodness of God. I didn't proclaim his joy is my strength or anything like that. I just sat there with my anger and thought, what one thought am I thinking that's connected to this situation that the Redbox is broken? So there's a situation, the Redbox is broken, and I'm angry. I've got that down, got the situation down, got the emotion down. But in between that situation and that emotion is a thought that constructed that emotion. Redbox didn't trigger me. Redbox did not make me mad. The mechanic who is supposed to fix Redbox did not make me mad. He didn't force me. He has no control over me. My brain constructed an emotion. That emotion was anger. What thought came from me? What thought? What was I thinking? And that was actually more difficult than the angry part because I'd already figured out, God had already been working on me on irritation and stuff like that. So what I realized is I have a thought that everything should always work whenever I want it to work. I thought, that's a ridiculous thought, but that is my thought. I owned it. And then I started thinking as I went through the next couple of days, thinking about that everything should work, how much I try to keep everything in my house working. If it doesn't work and it cannot be fixed or isn't worth fixing, I throw it away. Whether it's a shoe or a TV, if it doesn't work, and often if it doesn't work correctly, okay, I get rid of it. It is killing me right now. I have a small garage off of my office here that I think the motor of the garage door opener got zapped, and I've worked on it. I've taken the plugs out. I've checked the sensors at the front that decide if it's going to go up and down. I've checked the railing. I've checked the electrical. I've unscrewed the button that turns it on. I've taken that off. I've gone online. I've tweaked it. I'm pretty sure it's just the system got fried. All right. And I know it's going to cost me about $500 to have somebody come out and replace it. It's a $300 part, almost $300 part, blah, blah, blah. And it's still, I have to take my thoughts captive. Like, I got to get that done. I want to pay cash, but there's other things I want to pay cash for right now. So it's not working. So I had to go out there, turn it off, so it doesn't accidentally start working, and then, put that big bolt on the bottom that locks it. But it's killing me sometimes. But now that I know that emotion, that irritation that's there about something that doesn't work, I can go back, I can back it up, go, what thought is producing that? It's been very helpful. But also it's like, oh, I'm motivated to get things fixed, maybe more so than other people, simply because I have that thought that's in my mind. All right. So what you want to do, you can take the sachet, you can use that like around the dinner table. You can talk to, you can learn how to use that in a great conversation. And which you can also use, you can show them that, say, hey, so you can show a person that sachet and say, these are 6 core emotions. Which emotion was most obviously used or highlighted in your family growing up? What's the biggest emotion that you normally have or you normally experience? Because usually it's only one. Okay, usually it's only one of those emotions. And if you say it's all of them, or it's all the negative or all the positive, then there is something that's going on that's not quite right there. And we'll maybe talk about that later. That's a little bit off or broken there. But for this right here, you can kind of do away with the sachet because now you have your 6 core in here, and then you have other choices to choose from that can get you to where you want to go. In that. But when you find out what your emotion is, don't try to find the thought right away. Sit with the emotion, feel what it feels like. Where is it? Maybe you just ask yourself, where have I felt this before? Do I feel this a lot? And then you start, ruminating, you start meditating, you start thinking about it. You don't want to bring in declarations and close down your emotions. You don't want to bring in scripture or good teaching that you've had and close down your emotions. You want your emotions to be your emotions. You want to start in honesty. Honestly, you want to start with honesty. That's right. You want to start with honesty. You want to be vulnerable with yourself. I know that sounds weird, but you want to be vulnerable with yourself. You don't want to attack yourself. You don't want to criticize yourself. You don't want to judge yourself. You don't want to start working on yourself. This first bit of our hard work is often to sit and be quiet with ourselves. And in that, we then invite the Lord into that. But the Lord's probably not quoting scripture to us or declaring things over us or trying to worship out or sing out our problems, which we do that a lot. Especially if you're spirit-filled or charismatic, we'll just worship it away. And that often doesn't go to do the depth of it. I think you understand that I'm saying. But all right, so that's the emotions wheel, and that's something you can start working on. Monday, again, we will start, I'll start talking more about how you take that thought captive or how you find that thought, okay? And remember, this is a process. This is day 3. A lot of stuff here. It won't be this much stuff every day because we've got 4th of July on Thursday. And then next week I have a travel day on Tuesday, and then I'll be out all day on Tuesday of next week, but I'll be back on a Zoom meeting and stuff like that and doing some of these things. But really take your time, think about emotions, talk to others about emotions. Really, that really helps to stir that up, to engage with others about emotions. Be curious about their emotions. Be curious about what they think about your emotions. All right? All right, God bless you. Have a great day. Be sure to comment and post and message me with some questions. All right.